What's going on, world? It's your boy Cass. Welcome to another episode of Blacktop. I'm here.
Worlds, Ade.
Doc. What's going on, world? What's new?
Chilling, man. Trying to stay COVID free in these streets. Crazy out here.
Oh, man. You telling me. What's up, Ade?
Nothing much. Same here. Just trying to stay cool. Trying to avoid the heat.
Doc, what's going on your end, man?
Relax.
Just relaxing? Well, listen. Talking about COVID, because that's a big topic right now. What's going on with the sports? They're going back. They're bringing their players back. The schedules are starting up. How do y'all feel about that?
Well, I mean, 2020 itself has been a crazy year. Obviously, we had a lot of deaths. Kobe Bryant, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, just name a few. God rest their souls. But this coronavirus is just taking everything, livelihood as we know it, and altered it in a way that we've never seen before. You know, we got the expression, no shirts, no shoes, no service. Now in 2020, it's no shirts, no shoes, no mask, no service. So again, there's just so much uncertainty and lack of clarity and lack of information given to the general public about COVID-19. You know, how long will the vaccine take place? Will people even take the vaccine when it comes out? And I know people that, because of coronavirus, they're just even scared to leave their apartment building, their houses, just to go to grocery stores. Because again, one day we hear something about the news that, oh, the virus isn't, you know, contagious, then it is contagious, or the virus isn't mutating, then it is mutating. So it's just a whole bunch of different stuff that we're hearing. But I mean, as we know, with sports is going to be different probably for the next 2, 3, 5 years. Even if a virus comes out, I still think the social distancing guidelines will still be in place, just as a way for people to, you know, not transmit the virus. Because again, you don't know if you have it. Apparently, if you have it, you're asymptomatic. So just a lot of uncertainty at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens with that. But I don't know, man. I mean, let's just hope in the next couple of years it goes away and we could kind of go back to normal sometime soon.
Definitely. And with all these leagues, unfortunately, you have to almost think about it from a business perspective, because these business owners are thinking that way. They don't really care about the players, because if that was the case, they would just shut everything down. But they're still having these things run. You have NFL players coming out now trying to say, you know, we need to take more action. You know, they're making the masks, the shields that cover their face and stuff, but that's not good enough, because you don't just breathe sweat, you bleed. Literally, you bleed blood, sweat, tears. You know that phrase. So a lot of things are going to have to be done in order to, you know, meet these certain guidelines that these players, you know, to feel safe and stuff. And unfortunately, these owners, they're thinking it from a business perspective. They're going to want to see, okay, how can we find a loophole to work around this? Because that's their mindset. Let's find a loophole. Let's try to work our way around it. And I get it from the entertainment standpoint, but this is a life and death, literally life and death situation where a certain player gets sick, they can pass it on to their family, and their family members might not be. Yes, these are athletes who stay in top shape, but they have family members. They have friends. They have media members, and media members may not be in the best shape. So with that, it's just you have to see how it's playing out. Even with the UFC, you're seeing they're like trying to go on islands and stuff like that, and it's like, is that necessary? We get the entertainment standpoint, but again, it's life and death, and unfortunately, what we have to really expect or try to foresee is how are they going to try to find loopholes around it, instead of seeing if they're really going to make that biggest decision, which is to stop it off until there's a really permanent or like significant solution.
Yeah. I think it's too early to come back for any sport, in my opinion, especially a contact sport, right? Of course, you can probably do this with volleyball, maybe. But you're talking about basketball, you're talking about football, you're talking about baseball. And honest truth is the players are very much in contact with each other, sweating on each other, you know, whatever it might be, doing defense, hitting each other. You know, it's just going to be too much contact. You can't keep that 6 feet distance, you know. Asking players to come back, I think, is not responsible from any league. And doing it for a monetary reason is clearly the worst reasoning to have these players come back. I think it's horrible. I think you're putting their lives at jeopardy. I think the players should not have to come back. And if so, and if you did want to do something that created an environment that was coronavirus friendly, I like to say, then it should be something like we do on All-Star Weekend. Events that you don't clearly have to have a close interaction with a person per se, but you can still have the viewers and the public come together to want to watch these events, whether a dunk contest, whether a shooting contest. You can change things up, have a horse. You can do many things, and you can bring many different ideas to the table. Besides players running up and down the court, have to have close contact with each other. And then for all you know, we still don't even know if you caught it already that you won't catch it, and you really don't know who really has it. We've seen that people are getting tested. Like they tested a grapefruit or something in Africa, and it came up with COVID. So you don't really know like the dynamics to it yet. The CDC is still learning, right? They just added like 4 new symptoms to the list of symptoms that you can have for COVID. So I think it is really irresponsible for these organizations to come along and say, hey, look, we want you guys to play your sports again.
You can't say it's a choice. The players, they have to play. Nobody forcing nobody to play.
Well, MLB is
nobody
pretty
forcing.
much,
Nobody forcing nobody to play. They ask. It's up to the players.
Yeah,
up to the players.
If they don't play,
then
they don't get paid. But they can't just keep. How you gonna pay somebody if and they part of they payment was through fans, through TV. They can't just go out just paying nobody. That's like you telling your boys, oh, after a while, after you get your sick time, you ain't getting paid no more.
okay, so it's cool for the players to still be out there, but all the corporate people, all the marketing people that work at the office, that should be at the office, well, they shouldn't be, but that's their workspace. They're all at home chilling. So they get to do that, but the players don't have that access?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, he said it's not right for them to do that. I'm saying they had a choice. The players could have said they don't want to play. Even the players who didn't want to come back, they was like, okay, it's not a problem.
Well, here's
They ain't force nobody to play.
well, I think if you take away somebody's monetary reasons or means, I should say, then you put me in a place where I have to make a choice. Like when jobs say, well, now you can come back to work, and I don't want to go back to a job right now, especially if I don't have to be there, if I'm not a healthcare worker, if I'm not an essential worker that has to be on premise. But guess what? If you go, well, if you don't come back, then we're going to cut your days, or we're not going to pay you, or we're not going to pay you the full amount. Then you put me at jeopardy to force me to come back. So although it's not directly done, and it's not said if you don't come back, it's done through the means of money, which is what we play and what we do these jobs for, whether sports or anything else.
So you saying that owners, they still should pay the players millions of dollars, and they not getting no money coming in?
First of all, my contract, when I signed this contract, it didn't say, oh, I shouldn't get paid if I don't play,
That's
right?
the concept.
Especially if the reasoning is way beyond my means. Like, I understand if I choose to sit out, right, then I understand my financial impact my contract should be impacted. But if I'm saying because my health is at risk, you got to remember, there's players in the NBA that can't play because their health, maybe they have low immune system, anything could be contributed to the reasons why they might not want to publicize it, that they can't play. So now you're saying, I signed a contract for this amount of years to make this money, but you're telling me now you don't want to pay me not because I don't want to play, but I can't play. Because if I play, I'm putting myself in jeopardy, my life.
That's part of the contract.
It's
Yes, it is. The contract is playing games per game.
Back to your point, show me proof that the contract says
I don't have the contract, so I can't show you
hazardous, first of all, if hazardous wise, show me proof that the contract says no matter what, because we don't even do it in a storm. Like if there's a clear storm, we don't even do it. Like if there's something that prevents a player from going to a stadium, they still get paid, right? So that's hazardous pay. And that's sick pay for these players because they play all year round without any of that. They come when it's raining hard, it has to be dramatic events. COVID-19 is a dramatic event. Players should not be subjected to have to even thinking about their monetary or their money at all. They should not even be subjected to that.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. At the end of the day, these organizations are a business, and if you cancel the season, they're going to lose millions of dollars. And no organization wants to lose millions, close to billions of dollars. If the NBA cancels the season, they would lose billions of dollars in revenue. Same thing with baseball. Same thing with the NFL did the same thing. So if they're going to look after the money in their pockets, that's just how businesses work. But going back to the players, they wanted to play. NBA went on a conference call with all of its players, and majority of them said we want to finish
Majority,
the season.
keyword majority.
Okay, but if 90% out of 100 want to finish the season,
I don't think it's
no,
90%.
it was pretty 90%.
It was high.
There's a
It was
good,
high.
It was really high.
There's a
It
good
was
amount of
very
players
high.
that are
If you
home
look,
right now.
okay, because number
Great
one, it's
amount
only
of
22
players.
teams invited,
It
and
was
the
only
other ones
22
didn't want to
teams.
play.
It was very high.
It was
They
very
had like
high.
90%.
Mainly the
It was like
marquee
90
players
something
wanted to
percent.
finish the season. Same thing with if you look at baseball, majority of them wanted to play, but they just had contract negotiations. How many games would you play? Would you get paid full salary? All that good stuff. But I get it. Both you guys point say you don't want to put the players, risk lives at jeopardy. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Again, I believe in coronavirus. I think it's real. Let's take it seriously. Wear your mask and all that type of stuff. But when the information first came out about COVID-19, they made it seem like it was a death sentence. You look at the news everywhere. If you got COVID-19, they make it seem like, oh my God, you're going to possibly die, you're going to be in the hospital and ICUs. But yet they tell you if you get it, all you got to do is just stay quarantined for 2 weeks and then you'll be fine. So what's the real danger in that? It's like the flu. If I get sick, if you get the flu, you stay home for what? 1 or 2 weeks, you'll come back, you feel better, you go back to work. But COVID, if I get COVID, all I gotta do is just quarantine myself for 2 weeks and I'm fine. So really, what's the whole urgency in that and making it seem like a big thing? At the end of the day, news portrays it as a propaganda in which I feel that they put fear in the lives of people. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here for those people who believe in conspiracy theories. But going back to my point, we still don't know much information about it that they're given to the public. Are they being transparent with us? Because if you have a disease that says this could be spread to human-to-human contact, and they made it seem that once you get it, they made it seem like it was a death sentence at first. But now if you get it, a whole bunch of players got it. Russell Westbrook got it. I believe Donovan Mitchell got it. Rudy Gobert was the first player to test positive in the NBA. They're all fine. They're all playing right now in that Orlando bubble. So what's the real sense in making it seem like it's a big deal in terms of putting fear in the lives of people? But going back to the point, there was a survey done by Seton Hall that 72% of people won't attend games until a vaccine is made. Again, how long will a vaccine take to be made? How many people take the vaccine? What's going to be inside the vaccine? There's just so much information that I feel that it isn't being presented to us in all honesty. And 12% say they would attend and social guidelines were followed, while 13% say they wouldn't. And it also goes back to this too. This is going to affect future salaries for players. COVID-19, a whole bunch of money comes from tickets. You sell tickets that go ticket revenues. If there's going to be no NBA and no fans in the NBA, that's going to affect future players' salaries who have contracts expiring at the end of the season. They're going to get less money. Same thing with the NFL. Same thing with MLB and Major League Soccer. If you got a player that has a contract coming up that's done after this year, you're like, hey, I did great. I'll pay my contract. I want to get an extension 5 years, $120 million. But we can't pay that. We just don't have the money for you. So instead of getting a $120 million deal, you might get maybe an $85 million deal. So that's about $30, $40 million of pay that you lost because of that. It's just, again, and it's going to be like that for years, a couple years to come. Michigan State football, they shut down their workouts too because of a couple of positive tests. Again, I just feel like there's just something is missing that they're not telling us the whole truth about it.
Let's go back to one point. Majority said they will start the season if it's safe.
Yeah.
Not, I'm just going to start the season, I don't care, I want to play again. If it's safe.
But did the NBA
Back
not
to your
make it
point.
safe with
No,
the bubble?
no. Once again, back to your point. If we don't know enough about it, how can we even deem that it's safe? So you have one or two things. Let's just talk about the stuff that we do know about coronavirus, right? We know the symptoms. We know the symptoms vary dramatically through each individual. So that brings a lot of inconsistencies off the vert. Now, another problem is, let's just go back to one thing that they said allows us to be safe, quarantining ourselves for 2 weeks, whether having it or not having it, right? We didn't even set up the schedules in the NBA to have a 2-week period to see if players against it. So now what you're doing is basically a player could be playing, I'm just using an example, could be playing the Pacers this week. Now in 4 days he's playing another team. Now if he has it, he's going to pollute. He might have not had it when they tested, but when he goes and plays the other team, he can spread it. We have not stopped it.
Nah.
Now tell me that. Now tell me one thing, Doc. Tell me that the games are spread out within the quarantine period.
How
They've
been the players came, or so when they came in, they took the test in quarantine before they even started playing games.
Once again, how many people have taken the test, show that they don't have it, and then 2 or 3 days later, or even a week later, wind up having it?
Name one player that happened to.
I'm not talking about just players. I'm talking about individual.
We talk about the bubble. He mentioned a bubble. he said the NBA made it safe. I'm piggybacking what he said. When you first come to the bubble, you gotta get tested.
Okay.
Harden came to the bubble, he got tested, he was negative. They were testing people soon when you come in.
So you're
the
saying
bubble.
that this person going
We
to stay in
talking
the
about
bubble throughout this whole season?
You have to.
You're gonna have to.
Now, guess what? You have to have interactions outside that people outside the bubble have to come. You have to have people that supply you with food. You have to have all of these things that happen. So with that, you're subjected the same way that people are in hospitals and they go in rooms for a hospital and they might not have COVID coming in, but all of a sudden they get COVID. Why? Because the interactions of the people that's external that you're not anticipating. And some of these people are in strict isolation for other stuff and wind up getting COVID. So why would NBA players not be exposed or subjected to that when you're not going to have enough food in the bubble to last you for the rest of the season?
The food comes through. Don't have nothing to do with the cooks and barbers. Everybody is staying there. Everybody had to be inside that bubble.
You have food that has to come in
somewhere. Yeah,
yes, there's a source to come in. There's no way you can cook food. That's like a hospital saying you come to a hospital.
Outside, the food comes in from the outside, right? Not the driver, the food, the trucks.
Okay, but who does the food come from?
Exactly. None of us can speak on that. Think about it. When you clean your jersey, when you do this, there's many things that's gonna happen outside of the bubble.
Like a grapefruit tested
positive
for COVID? Yeah.
So how my thing is this: you don't know what you're going to be subjected to infection control wise, right? If I go to a hospital, I can be subjected to anything. They can put me in strict isolation. They can start there, but then the people that interact with me, the doctors, the individuals there's going to be individuals that's not sitting in that bubble 24/7 like the players are. So my thing is you can test them as much as possible. There's going to be players, like you said, you're going to test them. And some of them what happens when a player becomes positive in the bubble? Doesn't have the symptoms like the other, like that might be on that list. Or maybe has one symptom, but it's not as severe. So you don't notice it. And I guess now you got 20 people in the bubble that's sick.
And then look at what they're doing now. They literally had to make a snitch hotline.
Yeah.
For people who have that like sneaking out the bubble and stuff like that, because people are sneaking out the bubble. They literally made a snitch hotline.
And this is NBA players. They do not, let's just talk about NBA players. We're not going to talk NFL right now yet. NBA players, they don't even, sometimes they sneak out their hotels when they're supposed to not be out. So these are big games sometimes, right? Think about when you look at Jordan, when he snuck out and he had the big playoff game with the Knicks or the finals game with the Knicks. He snuck out his damn hotel and went to go to Atlantic City or something, like with his dad? Why do you think, I think anybody could reasonably say that these guys are not staying in there. And they're not staying in there without women, especially the ones that are single.
That's different. Jordan Levy, he wasn't under no surveillance. This is totally different.
But you're not stopping these players, I'm telling you.
Lou Will?
Lou, yes.
Let me
Literally yesterday?
Yeah, he got excused. He got excused.
Yeah,
he got excused.
He did go. I think it was some.
But he got excused absent.
Whatever. Yeah.
But there's no excuse. You
No,
should
he
not be
said
subject
no. He
to
got
it.
excused absent. He said his grandfather died, and they excused him to go out.
But what I'm saying is there's no
And now
excuse
he's back.
in
They
the health.
quarantine him back. He's quarantined right now.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, even in that situation, we don't know enough about this. Even there's people that have been quarantined for 2 weeks and then wind up with it afterwards. It takes much longer. We don't know that. This isn't something that we had so much study about that we can say it's definitely 2 weeks. It could take some people 30 days, take some people 21 days, and people show these results. Some people do 4 days in the hospital. Some are in the hospital for weeks. My thing is that there's no way to truly safely do it because we don't have enough research, enough evidence about this.
But again,
COVID.
that just goes back to the point. They're just doing off the information that is given to them. That goes back to the lack of information presented. But here's the thing. The NBA bubble, anytime you leave the bubble, you have to come back, be quarantined, I think, for about 2-3 days. Then you have to get retested. NBA, they test their players every single day. They do daily tests every single day before and after a game. That's one thing. And two, I don't know who made that snitch hotline, but low key, that's a good thing because it's a good thing. I mean, you may it's a snitch, but at the end of the day, you want players to be safe. So if you're going out there not wearing your mask and you do something foolish, you come back, you're gonna be on some Rudy Gobert type vibes. You know what I mean? You don't want the season to get shut down.
Yeah.
But out of I think it was 300 or 400 tests conducted for the players, none of them came back positive for coronavirus in that Orlando bubble. So that shows that their method right now is so far working. You can't
Well, I
complain
think
about that.
isolation is the only thing that we know works right now, right? We have done isolation in states. We have seen the cases drop, especially New York. We know one thing: when you're not isolated, and the people are out just doing whatever they're doing, what actually happens is that typically you see the cases rise. So we know that's facts. I agree that isolation is the first step. I don't agree that the NBA has the safest plans, and I don't think there's any way for them to create the safest plans because there's not enough information about this virus. And I think you're subjecting people, especially because let's just go back to your facts, whether they're 100% accurate or not. The point is, let's just say 75% of people are not coming to these games, right? You're not generating that income, so does it really matter that people are playing at these full sports right now? You're just subjecting them to being able to either get coronavirus, and we're still not making the money anyway.
Well, so still got to make the money through TV revenue.
But that's what I said. Back to my
TNT.
first point. Create different type of activities. It doesn't have to be a full court basketball game. It could be many different. The NBA All-Star Weekend makes a lot of money.
You know what?
And most
it's
people,
hard.
and the typical person can't even buy an NBA All-Star Weekend ticket. So guess what? It makes a lot of money with the TV ads and everything.
Nobody
else.
wouldn't care about that around like that. But then
That's, you can't honestly say that. You have no proof to say that.
But you know why you can't.
NBA
You know why you
All-Star
can't
Weekend.
sit there and say, "Oh, the players and NBA doing this," because it's like competition. We here now. There ain't nobody over here. Everybody's 6 feet. So if we can do this, why they can't play?
I just told you, isolation is the one thing we can actually.
But we're not
confidently-
isolating right now.
One thing is isolation is the one thing that's confident that we can confidently say has decreased cases, right? All I'm saying to you is when you're putting a large group of people like that together, it is much harder.
It doesn't
to
matter if
decrease
it's
cases.
large. People close. Period.
I don't think it makes any point.
It
I
don't
don't think
have
that
no
makes
law because
I don't think
you
that
saying
makes a point.
NBA wrong.
We all
because-
see that large groups causes cases to go up. We don't see that two people together always causes cases to go up. We don't have that proof. We see it in Atlanta. We see it in Florida. Large groups come together. What happens to the cases? It goes up. Because to
Or
be
it takes
honest
one
with
person
you,
to have it.
no, but first of all, you can't. It doesn't always work like that either. But what I'm saying is the large groups consistently show that the numbers go up in these states. One is let's just say, God forbid, you can have it and we can be together. Our symptoms might not be that severe to cause us to need the medical attention, or you might not even spread it. To be honest with you, like you might not catch it, I might not catch it, whatever. It just might not come to us. But in a large group, it's much more likely because of think about the statistically. Statistically, it's much easier for somebody to catch it because there's so many people around.
Well, given the case back to you see the big states are spiking, I believe California, Texas, and Florida. They just don't do anything. They're not practicing any social distance guidelines. They're not going out wearing masks. So obviously there is a reason why their cases are spiking. They listen to none of the guidelines that are given to them. But just going back to your point, at the end of the day, organizations want to play. They're still getting some type of money from TV deals because if they didn't complete their TV contracts, here come the revenue. Nobody's getting paid. If they had canceled the season, I think there's only 6 players out of 400 something that were going to get full contracts. Everybody else, full money. Everybody else was going to take a huge dip. So they had to do something in that sense. But in terms of, now I'm going to compare the NBA to the NFL. In terms of the NBA, they took action. They developed a plan. Well, so far, they had no positive cases inside the bubble. So far, let's hope that stays that way. NFL, COVID-19 happened while you was in the off season. It took your marquee players to go on Twitter and call you out and be like, NFL, you got about a month and a half until the season starts. What's going on with training camp? What's going to be the testing policy? Are we going to have to be quarantined? What's the whole COVID policy? They had nothing in place until you had guys like J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I could go on and on. Calling the NFL and Roger Goodell out. What are you going to do about this policy? Until for them to finally come out with something. That's where the NBA is more proactive in that.
Well, then you can't say that. NBA was active during this time.
Okay,
so the
NFL
problem
wasn't
is,
active.
no. When I say active, they actually had games scheduled. Like, do I expect the NFL to come and say, "Oh, we're going to do all of this," and be preparing for something they don't even know if they're opening back up for? I agree they should have some type of contingency plan. Yes, but they're not. They had no scheduled games throughout this time. So NBA would have had scheduled games. So they have to be as active. If your business doesn't have to, let's just say your business is closed from February. You have a business, a seasonal business, right? You sell Christmas trees. It's closed from February till next September or whatever, October. You're not thinking about coronavirus. You're not thinking about, I got to go put this big strategy through because seasonality. So it's the same thing with the NFL. You can't say they weren't active. You can just say they didn't have to prepare at the time. Now they have to prepare. I do agree maybe they should have been preparing as the NBA was preparing. But did they have to? Would it have affected them as much as the NBA? Absolutely not.
it still would have affected them because of a lot of fans, going back to the Seton Hall survey, a lot of fans would not have been comfortable to go to the games if a vaccine wasn't established. So, like, again, a majority of their revenue comes from fans in attendance through tickets. And they should have had some type of plan. We heard when it first came out, it could have lasted until July and August. August is training camp for the NFL.
Oh, it started from April, then it went to
July,
now it's like
extended. So like,
January.
hold up, we're seeing this is going to get extended. This is going to be cut until when our season starts in September. Okay, let's develop a plan. Let's develop quarantine methods. Let's develop daily testing. Let's do all that. They didn't do that for 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Like, what do you like? Listen, man. NFL, Roger Goodell. I don't know what he's doing. What we talked about in the last segment. He's just not a good commissioner. But NBA right now, their method is working. NFL, it took them this long to finally develop a plan. And we don't even know the specifics of their policy. What are they going to do? Are they going to follow a bubble like the NBA did?
I think they're learning. I think everybody's learning. I give the NBA credit. I think they have been more progressive than a lot of other leagues, honestly. But I don't think that sports in general, I think what we forget is that sports is viewed as the public as being like, once sports is back in play, everything seems normal. Think about it. If you didn't stop sports, people would still function the same. You know, because people look at sports to be like, oh, think about the first thing they said when they stopped the NBA season. Oh, no sports? When they stopped, oh, no sport. Like, everybody lost their minds because now it's like, I can't even sit home and watch the game. Like, I can't do what I'm used to doing. So I think you have to realize one thing. Sports is when we look at sports, we look at things as being normal. A lot of times people, and it brings for some people, it brings tranquility. You know how many people they can't wait to get home and watch a football game? They can't wait to get home and watch a basketball game afterward. So I think when we go back to that, hopefully, one, we don't have the gatherings, right? That's the main thing. You're going to have, like, tailgating. You're going to have all of these events that's going to occur that's going to force people to come out, right? I hope that doesn't occur. You know, so let's just say the NBA is very safe. It leads to this trickle-down effect where now you might have hundreds of people meeting in different states, in different areas of states, thousands of people really, especially if it's a state that's heavily driven or heavily like viewed by that state, whatever sport it might be. It might be NFL in the South. It could be anything. And they might view these sports to be like, no, I want to go out and see it. And then they gather. Now you got 100 people. Now out of that 100 people, 30 or 40 is being sick at one event. Now you have multiple events going on in that city. So, you know, I think you have to be selective in that approach as well. How do you minimize the social gatherings? How do you make sure that people are staying home, hopefully, to watch these games? It's a hard thing to do if you bring these sports back. And I don't think that there's any secure way and confident way the NBA or the NFL or the MLB or any league can possibly say that we're going to keep you safe as a player and you won't get this. And like you said earlier in the conversation, what about their family? Or they said, what about their family? What about the kids? What about their elders? And you got to remember the spread of coronavirus is so deadly because the way I might react to it is not the same how that child or that elder might react to it. So I could spread something and, oh, I'm good, right? My symptoms is just, I had symptoms that I didn't even know I had. Now the other person gets it down a respirator. So, I think we have to be selective. And is it the first time we ever had to deal with something as, severe as coronavirus? I think this is probably in the last 30 years one of the most serious, besides the AIDS epidemic when that first came out, right? So I think we have to, look at this as different, and the numbers are going in the right direction, but we don't know 100% every parameter that's making that happen.
Well, it also goes back to leadership in the White House. I mean, we had Ebola during Obama's administration. Ebola was nowhere even near this bad. Ebola was taken care of right away. He hopped on it. This president that we have in the White House, the USA is at 4 million cases and about, I think, 160-something thousand deaths. And we're going to be possibly 6 to 7 million cases when the second wave's hit, according to Fauci. So it trickles down to the leadership and who's in the White House, and he just did not do anything to prepare the USA people or our whole country to prepare for something like this. So I don't want to make this into a political thing, but it really stems from him. He was warned about this. He didn't do nothing. Now this is the result of his ignorance.
Yeah, I agree. I think our president has truly created the environment that we can't quickly bounce back from, mainly because of the spread and how quickly it spread, and he didn't really step in. You look at Obama, of course. Obama's presidency was and how he managed things was a lot different. Whether you agree or not, I think it was better managed in this situation. I think our Governor Cuomo, managed the New York State better than the president has managed the country. I think we have to look at that and be proud to have a governor that's as good as he is, because we could have really been subjected, and we could have had worse statistics and deaths and numbers than possibly we have now. So I think overall sports, we need to think about as we start sports back up. We need to really strategically approach it, and maybe we don't need to do all teams. Maybe it's just a select team amount of teams, right? When we start, and see how that plays out. I just think when you start the whole season back up, you don't know what you're about to expect. It could go great, right? Like, let's just be honest. Nobody gets sick. Everybody plays. Everybody loves it. It could go great, but then it could really go bad. And the problem is, do you really want it to go bad? And it might not be directly with these healthy players, because most of our players are probably healthy, in great shape, so they can probably withstand some of the symptoms. But then you also have their families. You have people outside of them that they'll be in interaction or come into interaction with that could possibly be subjected to this coronavirus, which we see leads to death.
One last point, I think we're not focusing, like anybody's really focusing on, and we're not putting enough pressure on the marketing people, communications people that work in these offices that have to come up with these creative ideas, that are chilling at home, making their six-figure salaries and stuff like that. Stop putting the pressure on these players of should they play, should they not play. Like, where's the content creation? Where's the creativity? Yeah, we saw they did like the 2K challenges and stuff like that, but the average person can come up with that. Now's your time to do your job. You're chilling at home, but now's your time to do your job and really go to work and try to come up, okay, what can we do to come up with some creative ideas to kind of ease the pressure off these players playing? Like, now's your time to shine. Like, what are you doing? I haven't seen anything really. I haven't seen anything that's really interesting per se. And you're making six-figure salaries, chilling at home. Like, you getting paid all this money. You gotta come up with something. I'm sorry. Like, you have to do your job. Like, I'm not seeing it enough. And that's who are the people that we should be more putting the pressure on, not the players. It's the people that's chilling at home and they're supposed to be doing their jobs, but where's the creativity? That's my last point.
I agree. Why not take the blacktop approach, put 3-on-3 on? Minimize the amount of players on the court. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the perfect answer for what's the solution, but at the same time, I don't think putting us back into a regular rotation is the perfect solution. So
I feel like sports just gave us some type of hope that we'll go back sometime later in the future to some normalcy. Because like you mentioned before, if people go, there's no sports on, there's really nothing to talk about. There's no sports, there's no sports in it. There's no Undisputed, there's no First Take, there's not all these debate shows that we watch every day that give us that great content of sports. So really sports makes the world go round.
yeah, I agree. So one is, I hope the players stay safe. I hope the NBA creates more safer guidelines as they learn more about the coronavirus, what works, what doesn't work for the players. I hope the bubble is the solution. But at the end of the day, I hope the NBA keeps their pulse and their finger on the pulse and ensures that these players are safe and ensures that the interactions with these players outside of the bubble is something that can be tracked and managed. So for the most part, thank you for joining the episode. We appreciate you. All right, we'll see you in another episode of Blacktop.